Welcome to Created for Work, a Christian podcast where faith meets the workplace. From Genesis to Revelation, God created us in His own image and designed us for work. In the beginning of Scripture, we see a God who works and creates, who cultivates, and who invites us to join Him in meaningful labor. Created for Work is a podcast that explores practical topics in the workplace, leadership, calling, and what it truly means to reflect God's image through our work. Created for Work is also for the job seeker and those in the workforce looking to grow in their profession. We will explore topics in the workplace such as identity and self-worth beyond a job title, purpose, calling, and transferable skills, courage, confidence for interviews, perseverance through rejection and waiting, and integrity and excellence in work and life. We'll also answer questions related to job search and growing your career. What happens when your job search lasts longer than you expected? When rejection emails pile up? When confidence feels shaken and you begin to wonder what comes next? How to grow in your career and how to show your value. Your podcast hosts, Elizabeth and David Hart, bring over 50 years of combined experience in workforce development, training, and human resources. As co-founders of Tailored for Success, a missions-driven nonprofit that empowers job seekers to become economically self-sufficient, they have dedicated themselves and walked alongside individuals in the workplace, offering dignity, encouragement, training, and practical support. Through Created for Work, Elizabeth and David will offer their knowledge and provide resources, support, and most importantly, help you apply your faith as Christians to a life-giving perspective of work using the Christian worldview. Your podcast hosts believe that work is more than just a paycheck. It's a calling. And from the very beginning, God designed each of us with purpose, gifting us to contribute, to lead, to serve, and to reflect His character in everything that we do. Whether you're in business, healthcare, technology, nonprofit, the trades, human resources, leadership, or navigating the career transitions, or simply trying to honor God in your 9-to-5, this podcast is for you. Each episode will explore practical workplace topics like hiring, leadership, conflict resolution, and professional growth through a biblical lens. David and Elizabeth will have honest conversations about the challenges they and others have faced on the job and how their faith shapes the way that they have responded. Because the truth is, you weren't just created to work, you were created for work. So let's get started.
Welcome to Created for Work. Created for Work is a Christian podcast where faith meets the workplace. Your hosts, Elizabeth and David Hart, will explore many different topics in the workplace and for the job seeker who is seeking work or is struggling to find work. And what we thought we would do is introduce ourselves to you and why we have started this podcast. So the way this is all going to work is that I will interview you today, Liz, and on our next episode, you will interview me.
Right.
Okay? So we've got a series of questions that we're going to go through, and we'll just take it from there. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional journey.
All right. So I am the founder and executive director of Tailored for Success, and which is a nonprofit that just celebrated our 25th year last September. My journey is that I had always wanted to be an attorney since high school and was working in the legal profession, first as a legal secretary, then as a paralegal, and then got accepted to law school. But I knew shortly thereafter, starting the first year, that this was not for me. And when I decided after the first year was done not to return, I had to figure out what's next. And just during a regular Sunday night, watching 60 Minutes, learned about Dress for Success and what they were doing with women in New York in terms of giving them suits and boosting their self-esteem. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do it as a community service project, but not as my career until I started serving my first client. And then I knew that was what I wanted to do.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what Tailored for Success does and just, dive a little bit deeper into Tailored for Success. Because really, this is where all of this is coming from.
Right. Yeah. So Tailored for Success is a nonprofit organization based in Malden, Massachusetts. And we have 4 career closets that I am happy to say. We provide career clothing and workforce development services to men and women who are in transition from one job to the next, or maybe they have been out of the workforce for a while. So we provide business clothing and also professional and career development training. We have 4 closets throughout the greater Boston area. And like I said earlier, we have been in business for about 25 years.
As a matter of fact, we have been in business 25 years because last September we celebrated our 25th anniversary.
Yes.
And during that time, we had a get together and we had some of our original board members joined us on that event. We had some of our funders that joined us at the event. We had the mayor of Malden, Massachusetts, Gary Christensen, who has
Continues
always
to be.
been and continues to be a strong supporter of Tailored for Success. The entire city of Malden, really, especially the Malden government, has all been a very strong supporter of Tailored for Success. And we've also done, I mean, and to our credit also, to pat ourselves on the back, we've also done a lot of work with Malden, with Malden youth, with Malden residents, so forth. So you and I, we co-founded Tailored for Success, as we said, 25 years ago. What have been some of your highs and lows?
Yeah, a lot of times people think that running a nonprofit is difficult. I mean, I think people understand that, but they also see the glamour of it, the awards and the accolades. But running a nonprofit, especially from grassroots to what it is now, is a journey. And there have been some great highs working with clients that have gone on to develop their careers, to lows where we've moved 6 times. We've had a flood. We've had 0 funding. And all along, we have stuck with it. And through the grace of God, we're still here 25 plus years later.
Right. And you bring up, because I have to bring this up and I have to add to it because because you never, whenever we talk about this, you never give it the credit that it is. But the difficulty of running the nonprofit, especially in the early years, your salary is really, it's predicated on funding.
Right.
And on top of that, you need to keep the organization running. You need to keep a roof over our heads as far as a workplace, a place where you can receive clients and serve clients and so forth. And there have been many paychecks missed, especially in the early days.
Right.
Those were the lows. Those definitely were some of the lows. But I think even from the lows, there was a lot that we learned from it.
Yeah, I thank God for those lows because now, thank God, we've got funding. I know never to go back to those days. And I
Right.
know that one grant application away from being back to missing a paycheck. And now I have 3 people on my payroll that I have to think about. And from what I learned through the lows keeps me going now, even when I get discouraged, like anyone would. But I know that there's a greater good.
Absolutely. And then one other thing that we should really mention too is over the years, the growth of Tailored for Success. As you said, Liz, we originally started serving low-income women that were either in career transition, maybe underemployed and needed to find a way to move up and to get to be prepped for interviews. And fair or not, the way you dress for an interview, and we debate this all the time, the way you dress for an interview, a determination is made on that candidate by a hiring manager, probably within the first 5 to 7, 8 seconds.
Right.
And that's scientifically proven. There's been many studies. So, I mean, it's not numbers that we're just making up.
Right.
One of the other things over the years that we found, and this was very early on, this was probably by maybe year 3, 4, or 5, that there were more than women that needed our services.
Yeah. Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So when we first started, thanks for that too, because I tend to forget that we are the largest organization in Massachusetts that serves women and men. I knew when I first started Tailored for Success that I did not want to just focus on women. The goal was to focus on the family and head of household. So that could be a woman or a man. But at the time that we started was during the welfare to work period. And so there were more women that were struggling to get off of welfare so they could keep some of their other benefits alive. But I knew that I also wanted to serve men. And so about 5 years into it, we started serving men and then quickly added at-risk youth and young adults.
And also veterans.
And veterans. Yes, don't forget the veterans. Yeah,
Right.
which is a project that came about 10 years after we started, but has been a pet project of both of us, I think,
Right.
for a while. So,
Right.
so we serve men and women and anyone of any gender, any age that is in transition, who's looking for a first job, second job, promotion, who wants to really advance within their career. And the clothing is just a hook to get them in, right? And
Right.
then once they're in, they become our clients. Then we offer our career development and professional development workshops.
Right. And the Veterans Project, which by the way is called Boots to Suits, our first Boots to Suits event was at the State House.
Right, right.
And it was obviously hosted by us, but the Veterans Agency, also a co-host. In fact, the Secretary of Veteran Affairs, Secretary Urena, when he was in charge, he also spoke at the event.
Right.
I think we served close to 100 veterans
Yeah, in that one day.
in that one day. But interestingly enough, that Boots to Suits project started out trying to recruit women veterans.
Yes.
And you want to talk about a low? That was one. I mean, listen, you know it better than I do, but that was one of the biggest lows we had. We could not get women veterans. Women veterans historically do not identify.
Right. They don't self-identify. And now, whenever we do events for the veterans, we do one every year, a Boots to Suits event every year. We always have more men than we do women. We have just, one or two women and about 30 male veterans. And there's various reasons for that, trauma issues and so forth. But yeah, it started out just to serve women veterans because I had met my first woman vet and we got together and decided to try to do this program.
So one last thing about Tailored for Success, and we'll talk more about this as the episodes go forward, because as we said before, Created for Work really is a spin-off, shall we say, of Tailored for Success. It was what I believe, from my personal opinion, it was sort of the next step for us as our faith in Christ has grown. But one of the things that we started, I think it was 2 years ago, you had a woman reach out to you from UMass Lowell, and she was in charge of the career development group.
Right. She was working with career development at UMass Lowell at the Manning Business Center, and she asked if we could help with dressing the students for an upcoming job fair.
Right. And the upcoming job fair is a job fair that UMass Lowell has. It's really, it attracts people from all of UMass, and it's at the Songus Arena, and there's over 100 employers that go, and at least 3,000 to 5,000 students.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is, so we rented a truck, we packed up all our clothes that we had, and we went up to UMass. We set up we'll call it a pop-up closet, whatever you want to call it. And that first year, which was 2 years ago, this was our second time we did it, or third time?
This is our second
time.
Yeah.
This past year, we served, I think it was close to 700 students.
Yeah. We thought we would get a couple hundred.
Right, if that. Yeah, we weren't sure what we were going to get.
Right.
And it literally, they literally took every piece of clothing off the rack.
Right.
We had a U-Haul truck full of clothes, and we came home with a U-Haul truck with 10 racks in it, empty. So clearly a complete and total success.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
We're doing that now annually, and we're looking at also building a project around that we can work this through other schools also. It's just an amazing way to get our services out there especially to the young professionals as they get ready to graduate and move into the work world.
Right.
So let's jump back here for a moment, back to Created for Work. I'm going to jump in with this question. How did your faith in Christ shape your understanding of work and vocation?
It shaped it through the fact that everything that I have been doing has been grounded in my faith, even if I hadn't realized it at the time. And I came to know when I started to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, then I knew that what I was doing was glorifying God. And then it became my vocation. It became what I was made to do. And I'm very grateful and blessed that I get to do this every day. Even on the bad days, it's a good day.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Was there a specific point when you looked at what you did differently?
I remember I was in a life group, and one of the women in my life group, or small group, some people call it small group, said to me, I was talking about Taylor for Success and what we do, and she said, well, you have a ministry. And I'm like, I don't think so. I think I just have a nonprofit. But then I started to see it differently, and I knew that the clothing and the services that we provided boosted self-esteem. We always treat people with dignity and respect. But I see now that's a way of glorifying God.
Right. Right. Because ultimately God created every one of us.
Right.
He created every one of us in his image.
In his image to work.
And what God also told us to do is go forward, work, be fruitful, multiply,
Right.
and have dominion.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we were created to work,
Yeah.
which is again where the podcast came from. And the other point, I think, and I know that you and I were on the same class at one point, we were taking a class called Theology of Work.
Right.
And we'll talk more about that. And I really hope, and I'm going to ask him because I see him occasionally. We see him
At church on
at church
Sundays.
recently, fairly frequently on Sundays, unless he's traveling. The gentleman who created public reading, to help create public reading of scripture, theology of work. And so he hosted a class for us. And one of the things that I found just completely amazing, and I think you'll agree with me, is that in the Bible, in the 66 books of the Bible, work is directly mentioned over 800 times
in scripture. Right.
So
Exactly.
clearly we were created to work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. I do hope that we can get Andy Mills on to talk about the theology of work with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think we've kind of both answered this question,
Okay.
but what inspired you and I, which you'll ask, I'm sure you'll ask me when it's your turn to interview me, what inspired you to start Created for Work and the podcast?
Yeah, what started was, as we mentioned earlier, I had started a podcast called Pivot Point, Success is Your Journey during COVID. Loved to do podcasting and did it for a couple of years. But then I found that I was not as committed to it as I had been in the beginning. I loved the stories that people told about the career journey, but something was missing. And I think it was because my faith had started to grow and I wanted to be able to incorporate that. And that's how we decided to do this, that I wanted to be able to not only talk about how you can use your faith in work, but also give job seekers hope during their struggles. I was talking to a woman at church and she had been unemployed for quite 10 months. And it was her faith that carried her through.
Right.
And that's where sort of the spark came from.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. Have you personally experienced a period of unemployment, career transition, or some type of uncertainty in your professional life?
I have many times. I have been fired. I've been demoted. I remember one time working as a legal secretary where I was demoted. Love that one. So I've always gone through different career transitions, even going from working as a intellectual property paralegal to starting Taylor for Success was a transition. And I think with every transition you grow, and I always look at it as is a benefit.
Okay. Tell us the time you were fired.
So that was when I was just out of high school. I was working at a bank as a teller, was not a good teller. They kept me as long as they could. I think they were losing way too much money on me.
Exactly.
So
The
they had
draw
to-
didn't balance at the end of the day.
it never balanced. I made a lot of our customers really happy, but
Now,
yeah,
I hope your funders didn't hear that. Okay. But
I'm much better now.
we've grown so far that we have an accountant that does all of our
Yeah,
books
yeah.
and so forth. Or
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right. What about career transition? What are some examples of, I mean, obviously the career transition is who went from the legal industry into the nonprofit
Mhm.
industry, but tell our listeners what were some of the thoughts that went through your mind on that?
Yeah, I really just started Taylor for Success as a community service project and never really thought beyond just starting it, and certainly never thought it would last 25 years, especially with the lean times when there was no money. But the process was that, as I think just is my nature, I like to research, I like to write, and I thought, you know what, I can pretty much teach myself whatever I need to know.
Mhm.
And with this career transition and with everyone, I teach myself what I need to know. So I think that if I have to give a tip for someone, it's that preparation in advance is really important.
So this is a unscripted question I'm going to
Okay.
ask you. As I say, Tailored for Success has had over the 25 years, we've probably served what, roughly 15,000
Yeah.
clients
Yeah,
probably.
probably.
And I'm sure in those 15,000 clients, and you'll know this, some have said, I just can't find any information on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I get people that who say I'm too old to get a job. I can't find information on anything that I want to do. I can't increase my knowledge. And maybe in the beginning, I would say, okay, well, maybe. But now where everything is on the internet
Right.
and you can learn whatever, even when it comes down to when I'm working with a male client and he doesn't know how to tie a tie, I'm like, go to YouTube.
Yeah, there's a YouTube video.
There's a YouTube video and
for
everything.
Exactly.
So there's really no excuses for not working, or even if you're not working, for not volunteering.
Right. Right. Absolutely. All right. So we had talked a little bit about intake one,
Yes.
okay, which was a good take.
That's
I got to tell you, this is
Yeah.
going well too. The question was, how can Christians view their jobs? And also not, again, this is a Christian podcast, but non-Christians alike,
Yeah.
okay? Which, if you start viewing your job this way, you may find yourself walking with God.
Yeah.
But the question really is, how can Christians view their job as more than just a paycheck?
Yeah. I think that once you start really looking at what you're doing, how you're contributing to society in your work, whether it's in the home or outside of the home, you see how you're glorifying God with it. You're contributing to what He created us for, which was to be in His image. He started everything by working, and it's important to Him. Like you said, there's over 800 scriptures on work. So I think that you can at times look at it just as a paycheck if there is extenuating circumstances, right? But I think you get more fulfillment if you look at it more than a paycheck.
So let's talk about the paycheck piece of it again. I'll try to bring us to this. Have you ever worked? So let me back up for a minute. So Tailored for Success, clearly you were led here.
Yeah.
And the talents that God gave you when He created you, clearly you're utilizing it, what you do on your day-to-day basis. Okay. And that I totally and completely believe that. Have you ever worked in a job and it was just for a paycheck?
I have.
And tell us about that.
Yeah, I have. It mainly, well, actually, in take one, I thought of one instance, but I just now thought of another one where I thought it would be a really good idea when the boys were young to work in a daycare center. I thought, oh, this will be good.
You lost your mind.
Yeah, I did lose my mind. I don't think I lasted a week. And that was really just for a paycheck. And then another time was when I was working as a legal secretary for a temp agency, and my mind was 100% on Taylor for Success in getting it off the ground. But it was not something that I wanted to do.
Right.
It seemed to me like a step backwards because I had come from being a paralegal and having a secretary to now being one. And it just, yeah.
Right. And so that also kind of correlates with a previous question about career transition. And one of the important things I think that our listeners need to know is that you all need to work.
Yeah.
And we have all at one point or another worked for just the paycheck.
Yeah.
Because I think there's very few of us out there who don't have some level of responsibility of rent, mortgage, food, children, whatever it might be. And we have to work.
Right.
We need to work because we have family members, we have extended family members that we may be caring for,
Yeah.
caring for ourselves, whatever it might be. So we're not telling anybody that if you are not doing that mission-driven job that you want, or the job that you love, to on Monday morning call in and quit,
Right.
because that's a big mistake. And also, one of the things that we have told all of our clients over the years is that I can think of, if there was number one tip that I would give to any client, is if you're in the job market, either looking for a job or even if you're unemployed and
Yeah.
you're looking for a job, the one thing you want to remember is that employers like to see candidates that are currently employed.
Right. Right.
Now, what does that mean? It might mean that you have a paycheck coming in every 2 weeks or every week, whatever it may be. Or if you're not in that circumstance, then getting out there and volunteering,
Yeah.
volunteering for a local nonprofit, volunteering for
The school system,
a school,
anything. Yeah.
whatever. Do even if you could a per diem job or
Yeah.
something like that, or go to work for a temp agent or whatever it might be, and you might not be working 40 hours a week, but you might be able to get 20, 25, 30 hours or whatever it might be. It might not be what you want to do, but it shows that you are actively working or volunteering, and therefore you are, and I come from the HR world, you are a much more viable candidate
Yeah.
than
Most
somebody
definitely.
who I'm reading a resume and it looks like they have been unemployed for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have you been doing for the
Doing.
last 2 years?
Yeah.
That's the first thing that
Yeah.
pops up into my mind.
Yeah.
We'll dive deeper into that on other episodes,
Yep.
but that's one of the things that I think is important that our listeners understand. All right, let's try to wrap this up a little bit. How would you encourage someone who feels stuck? And that can be stuck in, for our purposes, it's stuck in the process of finding meaningful employment, improving your level of employment.
Yeah.
Let's say you might
Yeah.
be underemployed, and there are a lot
lot
of
of
people
people.
out there that are underemployed.
Yeah.
What would you tell those individuals?
Yeah. I think the number one thing is for people to always be lifelong learners. Use this time of unemployment or underemployment to, and it doesn't necessarily mean going back to school. It could be taking a class, a free class online, but doing something to help better yourself.
Right.
Because what you'll gain the skills, but you'll also gain more self-confidence. So there's many benefits to becoming a lifelong learner, or even if it's just going to the library and reading. Do something to take yourself out of the situation that you're in.
Right. Right. And as when you say classes, there's LinkedIn Learning,
Yep.
there's Google has a whole series of classes that are free that you
Yep.
can take.
Yep.
Microsoft has a whole series of classes for their products that you can take, and they're also free, and you can get certified in any number of them
Right.
and all of that type of stuff. So the options are endless.
Right. I always say if you have a library card, you can pretty much learn anything.
That's right. And guess what? You don't even need to go to the library
No.
anymore. You can do everything with the library online.
Yeah, which is
So
great.
there you go. If you could give one piece of advice to someone searching for a job or seeking career direction, what would it be?
To maintain balance, and balance is a funny word because what's balanced to me may not be balanced to you, but don't just focus on the fact that you're unemployed or in transition. Do other things, take up a hobby, go for a walk, meet friends. People tend to isolate themselves when they're in these situations, and that's just really not good. Definitely just get out there and maintain some kind of balance.
From your perspective on Created for Work, what should our listeners expect to hear? What are some of the topics that we're going to talk about?
Yeah, I think you're going to hear from us a lot about certainly topics around the theology of work and what is meaningful work, but also how to apply this in a way that will practically help you with your job search and to stay motivated.
And if I could also add, we will be talking also about some very specific HR issues that come up.
Yeah.
The way companies and human resource professionals and career development professionals need to work with their clients.
Yeah.
And the level of what is really the right way to approach business from a Christian perspective.
Right.
All right. We call these bonus fun questions.
Rapid fire
Yes,
question.
here we go.
Okay.
Your very first job.
My very first job,
Yeah,
interestingly enough, was at a library.
there you go. Best career advice you ever received.
Don't burn bridges. If you're leaving, leave on a good note.
Okay, here's a good one. What book, besides the Bible, has most influenced your view of work?
It's To Kill a Mockingbird. Atticus Finch, who was the attorney that was representing a Black man, falsely accused, and really showed me the value of having a work ethic.
Interesting.
I know it's kind of odd,
Yeah,
but
and you ran as far away from the legal industry
I
as you
know.
possibly could. I did the same thing. So
coming back though.
exactly. If Jesus was sitting with us right now, what do you think he would want workers to remember?
that he has a plan for you, even if it doesn't seem that there is a plan. Just trust that he has a plan.
Okay. And then the last one, what is one thing listeners might be surprised to learn about you?
That I am an introvert, even though I have to be an extrovert for my work and for a lot of different situations. There's nothing better than just staying at home in my pajamas and not having to talk to anyone, even the people at home.
Even me.
Even the people at home. I'm an introvert, and when I have to go out and be an extrovert, I have to recharge by just being by myself.
All right. Well, thank you, Liz.
Thank you,
It
David.
was a pleasure interviewing you.
I can't wait to interview you.
I know. I might be sick that day.
All right.
All right. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.